Good evening. It's Gene Inger, and this is the Monday final. And due to my own tight scheduling today, I'm going to do a video and virtually no text other than a couple embedded comments in the charts. And I think it's pretty obvious that it was a miserable session pretty much across the board today. Much of the blame is being said because the market is on hold ahead of NVIDIA, which results come out after Wednesday's close. That is somewhat true, and I suppose in certain stocks you'll get a movement up or a movement down, and then go the opposite way, depending upon those results. And if they do a $50 billion quarter, it will be off to the races for that segment. We are not generally in that segment, indirectly because we picked AMD when it was down at 16, now it's over 200, instead of NVIDIA. That was our pick of the year, 5-6 years ago. AMD this year outperformed NVIDIA, although very few people seem to recognize that. Be that as it may, I'm not chasing either one of those stocks. And we scaled out of AMD at various times over the last several years. On the first run over 100, bought some back when it was around 75, remember? Sold some when it was 175, held the rest of it, it's 200 and some, and that's fine. And that was the general idea. With other stocks, and people were saying the year, one pundit likes to say the year of magical investing is over. Well, it's been over for him before it started. He tends to forget, whoever that might be, that he and those that chased NVIDIA when it was already very expensive, and Palantir and so on, they did not go into the quantum computing stocks. We believed the market was risky, maybe too soon actually, and we believed the multiple expansion wasn't necessarily going to occur. So we went into stocks that we thought were the new era: quantum computing, data analytics, and drones. And that is still our primary focus. Quantum computing, we backed off to an extent because the gains were just so terrific, there was no way we were going to, and still isn't, that we would replicate the percentages that we had, having bought most of those at $1, $2. I don't think we paid more than $3 for anything in the quantum sector. And here they are, 20, 30, 40. So we sold IO and Q too soon. We sold QUBT very nicely, pretty close to its peak. We sold SoundHound warrants, which is not quantum, but it came to my mind, very, very well. Thinking maybe not so, but in hindsight, very much so. And we sold all of Rigetti just about, selling out the rest of it just recently in the last couple of weeks. And that left us with some, not all, of our D-Wave, and have mixed feelings about that. Although we think D-Wave, not just IBM and not just Google, is going to be successful in the field. D-Wave may do very, very well next year. D-Wave might be one of those that was in the White House or the Defense Department, not sure who said that today. They mentioned 6 categories instead of 14 categories that the military is going to focus on for the new year. And one of them is quantum, and another is AI. And drones, well, you had the Army Secretary Driscoll on CBS Face the Nation yesterday morning saying specifically, we're going to make 1 million drones. We may have to do more because China and Russia are going to make like 5 million drones, and we're not going to let them stay ahead of us. We have to outpace China. So I think you're going to see significant drone contracts. Then you had today, which was very strange for our biggest drone play, which is Ondas, and it was because people first of all, they rallied the stock well over 7. I don't know if the company was too cute with the timing, but I don't think they were. I don't know. And they got an $8 million initial contract for security, counter drone interception with using Iron Drone at a major European airport, and said that particular country has more airports. So I wonder if it's Germany, for example, since they already, as we had mentioned, had been partnered with a Swiss company that had presented and been selected by Germany to provide airport security at various installations. So, but anyway, after the $8 million particular sale, was announced this morning, the stock went up and then it sold off. And people were saying it sold off because they're thinking of this was the first day of the first tranche of 4, which takes care of the Centrix acquisition, which is a very key acquisition that Ondas has made for 250 million. Maybe, no, I don't know. It's maybe not that much. But as the case may be, this was the first portion of that. And people say, well, it's dilution. Not exactly. Dilution for an acquisition is constructive. What that means is we shareholders contributed to the ability to acquire an important new division for the company, for Ondas, which is this Centrix company. And this is not particularly different than other companies, be it NVIDIA or be it Palantir, have done in the past, which is using stock to buy the companies they take over. In this case, it was a combination of cash and stock, and some of the stock was what you saw today, which is why it came down. But it's immediately accretive. They said it would contribute 25 million to this year's revenue for Ondas. Well, that's great, and they'll probably expand the business, and it'll help them get more contracts. The point is, if you were buying an apartment building with a 10-year return, 8 to 10 years, it's about normal. It's not overpaying, and it's immediately accretive. So it's not money down the drain, and it's not dilution in the conventional manner. Big Bear postponed, no, they didn't postpone. They're going to do the same thing, which is a higher authorized number of shares to provide for acquisitions. Ondas had done so much, and they put 150 million in each of 2 Ondas capital funds. I don't really think they could do much more without having an increased share authorization. And the meeting on that was postponed from tomorrow to 1 week from tomorrow. I'm not sure if they're going to reevaluate because of the stock price reaction to that, but it's clear that there's a fair number of people, panting, aggressive traders who are not really investors. They're looking for pie in the sky. They're more interested in timing than time in the market and so on. And they are looking at this and probably not understanding that that's not a conventional dilution scenario. So in any event, I don't think the stock is going to continue to bleed. I suspect it will probably find support like right now, perhaps tomorrow morning, perhaps a little bit longer. And I think the same thing is true with Big Bear. Both of those stocks are around the same price. And if the heat is too strong, leave the kitchen. If you don't understand the volatility of these stocks, which is no assurance that they're going to deliver, one or both might fail. I think both will actually succeed, and I think 2026 will be significant years for both. Do I think the stock market, S&P, which you see on the screen, is going to have a terrific year next year? Maybe not, and maybe somewhat. It's hard to gauge, and a lot of it might depend upon whether Trump backs off from beloved crypto, which he tends to support, because I think that's a danger to him, and it's a danger to the market and to the country to be too involved with it. I actually think that's part of the main problem that's going on. But because I'm concerned about the macro, because you have a 22 or 23 multiple on the S&P, or is it even higher, I don't see how you can get much multiple expansion. You have to have a broadening out, more stocks participating, and maybe you can get some more move. But it's not going to be easy, and that's part of what is going on in this situation. And that is why I've tried to focus on defense and security and data analytics and border control, all of which are key needs of the nation right now. And I think those stocks are going to go up next year, and I think they're going to go up whether the S&P does or not. Obviously, if you completely collapse the market, that's another story. But in a reasonable market, even range-bound, and even the S&P is still within the range it's been in, I think those stocks can do well. Who prevails more? Yin and yang. But notice that, like take Ondas, we happen to own a little bit in a number of stocks that they're involved with, and we didn't even know that, and we don't know if they knew each other first or they were reading what I was writing about. and I'm talking about Ondas being tied into unusual machines, to KOPN, Copen, and to even LightPath. And then they're separate because now Ondas invested in apparently all three of those others, and you can see the synergies and what's coming. And when they're doing all this investing, at some point they needed more shares because they're trying to buy with stock, which historically is shown to be a preferable way to make acquisitions than cash, especially when they're issuing warrants, and the warrants require that the shares be trading over $20 a share for a period of time, and at that point, the warrants can be recalled by the company, and the people that get them of the smaller companies they acquire can basically cash out of some of it. Well, you know what? Since it's a $6 or $7 stock, if it goes up to 20, I'll be happy. I'll be content, and I bet you the guys that sold their companies to Ondas and are coming aboard as part of the team will be satisfied as well. But there are no guarantees. And if you're going to say something to me like, "Oh, it should have doubled again by now," and this or that, I don't want to hear it. You're either in it or you're not in it, and you buy the dips. You don't chase the rallies. We own it from $1. 78 cents, I think, is my lowest that I paid. $1.20 and $3 maybe. I don't think I own any at above 5. I wouldn't mind it, and maybe I will. As a matter of fact, maybe tomorrow morning. I don't know, but we will see. But in any event, I think there is going to be constructive news. I think you're going to see that this is possibly, especially if the market takes off on NVIDIA, though I don't care about NVIDIA as such. As a matter of fact, D-Wave will do better if NVIDIA is shown to be lagging in the technology compared to what the annealing quantum computing, which is more power efficient, can do already, and so on. So I would not be surprised that what we're seeing this week, and it could be a stressful long week, turns out to be the key week that we then firm around into Thanksgiving or after, and have some more shuffle because you got the year-end alternatives of money managers trying to buy for next year. You've seen BlackRock, you've seen Chase, you've seen Goldman Sachs buying into some of these companies, and you say, well, wait a minute, why is that? Well, they're not buying them because they're negative on them. They're buying them for next year. They're positioning themselves. And this becomes a time, and maybe the stocks I've just named fall into the category, whether they go a little lower or not, to where you say, are the schmoes selling and the pros buying? Maybe. No, again, there's no guarantees. And if you're not comfortable dealing with that as a portion, and I've always said it should only be a portion of portfolios, do something else. But that's all I can say, because I'm not going to go out and buy the $200 and $300 stocks that the people talking about magical markets keep wanting you to buy, probably because they're helping their buddies distribute them. I wouldn't know about that. But in any event, I think that's not how you should play this market, because I think this market is too extended for basically those kinds of stocks. Should we be buying gold here? No, I don't think so. Should we be buying Bitcoin? Hell no, even if it rebounds. And let me point out that Bitcoin is now under what, 92,000? Every damn time in the last 3 weeks or so that the market has declined, it's been immediately after crypto and Bitcoin decline. And that's what I call the part of the problem, is cross-asset selling, where people may own a Bitcoin or a crypto and it collapses and they have a high margin on it, much higher than on equities, and they get a margin call and they have to sell, or the broker will sell them out of their normal equities in order to cover the margin call on the crypto. That would be a cross-asset liquidation, and that basically explains, in essence, what I've been talking about. So I think that matters. I think this market is not an unwinding mania. I think the mania has unwound. It may have more to go in those big prima donnas of the Magnificent Seven, and maybe not. And when I hear people saying Google at these high prices is the safety trade, I wonder about that. Although They say Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett's group, has been buying Google. So that helps hold it up. And he was very, very, very heavy in cash. And Goldman took their first positions, I believe it was in, I want to say in, I think actually in Big Bear, and they had almost none before, and now they have a lot. So I don't know, but I do know that the lady that runs, director of TSA, and you know that, Ha McNeil is her name. She was formerly vice president of Big Bear. She was co-developer with Kevin McAleenan, the CEO of Big Bear, at Pangiam when they co-founded it. I don't know if people realize that. And she was the designer, along with Kevin, maybe more so than Kevin, of the digital system that went along with the Veriscan acquisition, which is where you get the digital ID and verifications and so on. And people are saying, well, it depends if more airlines sign up. It's not only about airlines. You've got Custom and Border Protection has already signed with them. It's not in every airport for CBT yet. Delta Airlines and some others have them. United Airlines at certain airports. I'm not going through the list. Let the YouTube crowd do that. But there's no need to go through the list. You all know that by now. But what I am going to say is watch the border. Because when Big Bear did the third quarter report last week, Kevin McAleenan mentioned that he expects progress from the Big Beautiful Bill and along the border. And part of the problem with these stocks, a lot of these small stocks right now, that were hoping to benefit from the Big Beautiful Bill, is they probably still will. It's just that it's been delayed by a month and a half, and they have payroll, and they have bills to pay, and life goes on, and you have to get to that point. I think we thought by now that point would be here, and you start to see more of a stream of military and FAA and TSA awards going out to these companies, and you have not. But I think that you will. And so, that's on the horizon. That just may be a little further on the horizon than expected. And you could argue that it gives institutions and individuals time to accumulate on periods of weakness for next year if they have conviction. And please, if you don't have conviction, I can be wrong. I've been wrong before on stocks. I've been right on a bunch of stocks this year, which is no assurance of next year. But optimistically, yes. But some of them I will probably phase out into strength. Those two are not the stocks I'm talking about, incidentally. So we'll see how that goes. But in any event, I would say again, the deals, both deals, including the deal that Big Bear has for the Yes Sage or whatever it's called, which is a generative voice AI system for the military and federal government. It's accretive as well. And these deals are somewhat key to facilitating more than just making a product like the screeners at the airport or a drone, but integrating it into an integrated system, and you're selling the customer, which can be the government or it can be a foreign government or airport. You're selling them a system, and you're monitoring that system. And what does that do? That creates residual income. You're not simply selling a piece of equipment and done with it. You're creating an annuity-style income revenue stream that could go on for years. I think that's going to be the case in the drone business, too. You're going to have these high-speed wounded drones from unusual machines. And they just released, not far from me, a 20,000 square foot additional space, not far from the 17,000 square feet that they had previously leased. What's that for? I don't know if they need that much space just to make motors for drones, although that's what they say. I wonder whether they will make drones there. And who are they partnering with? And where is Ondas making all these drones? We've heard nothing lately about the Detroit manufacturing company. Isn't that supposed to be going by now? Maybe it is. Maybe there's a bigger deal. Maybe there's more facilities. And then there's DPRO, which is Dragonfly, which is not dragon, it's Dragon. It's named after the original founders, Mr. and Mrs. Dragon, in Saskatchewan, Canada. And they have an office in Tampa, right near Central Command headquarters. And they say they're working out 7 production facilities, like some in the USA. So, where is that going? I think the answer is airborne. And that particular stock, as far as I know, is one that is independent and not involved with Ondas, but we don't know who they're talking to. They say they have several deals that are pending, and we look forward to hearing more. And we're interested in the investing, not the swing trading aspects of these stocks. But let me look at a couple charts. I've talked for 20 minutes, and that's enough. And we'll see what, but I have to. The S&P is up 61 points. It's at the lower end of the range. It could break it nominally tomorrow, but notice it will be oversold if it does that. And we will see. You know, maybe that happens, maybe not. I think I'll exit the video so I can look at my charts, which are on the adjacent monitor next to me. And you've got it up 61. The futures this evening are up 10. I don't know if it can hold it overnight, but that's a favorable sign for a Tuesday turnaround. Maybe it opens up, sells off, and then moves higher. But again, it will help if horrible Bitcoin gets a bounce, which is flat this evening. Here's Bitcoin on a 90-day chart. At 92,000 down. Every one of these declines has taken equities and reactively following it. That's why I suspect the cross-asset selling aspect. Let's look at the Dow Industrials briefly. Down 557 today, pretty heavy. Probably trying to break the bottom of the range. And those are in many cases, the stocks, those that missed the magnificent year in quantum computing that they demean all year while they went up 5, 10, 20 times. And yeah, we don't mind selling into strength. We don't even disagree that the heyday of that for the near term is likely behind. Sure, why not? That's why I sold a bunch of them, but I kept some of it. Mostly I kept D-Wave because they're doing actual business, and I expect something maybe on the military or even Space Command front from them. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. The transports down 282, the New York Composite down 256, and about 4-1 declining over advancing issues. 476 up, 2230 down. A very heavy down day, not just limited to the stocks that I focused on. The Russell 2000 today was rather down 46 points. Small caps hit 2 and are below the range they've been in. Dollar index was basically flat to slightly weaker. Bank stock index down 4 points today. The NDX was down 208. And yeah, sure, these things are breaking the 50-day moving averages. The pure technicians who don't think about seasonal patterns or fundamentals, they're going to say this is all negative and we're going to drop thousands of points. We might, but I don't know. We probably should if you're talking about the overpriced Magnificent Seven and the impact they have on the NDX. But otherwise, wouldn't it be interesting if they tanked and the small caps started going up into the end of the year and New Year? Or is that too much to hope for? Could be. We'll see. NASDAQ itself was down 192 today, and the semiconductor index was down 105. The oil index was down 35. The crude oil itself down 30 cents today. I was going to start to comment about Saudi Arabia and us selling F-35. So as far as I'm concerned, the unreformed Prince Salman. But yeah, they can describe him how they want. I know what the Saudis did to the United States, and every one of the hijackers of 9/11 were Saudi. Does anybody remember that? I'm sure all of you do if you're at least slightly educated or over 20 years old. And some of you are not probably over 20 years old. The GLD was down 4 points today, and silver was down 49 cents. Individual stocks, I'll look at a couple. Amgen up almost $5 today. The pattern remains strong. It's continued to be strong. Apple was down about $5. That's talk about Tim Cook preparing to retire. Well, I don't know. Who's going to take over? Eddie Q? I don't know. But Apple, this has been a lateral pattern that often resolves in moving down when you're on top of a plateau at a high level. There's not unusual. There's Tiny Airship. We want to take a quick look. This is going to turn into a half-hour comment. But in any event, it was down 37 cents, 297. Tax loss selling, no news comes out. This is a stock that has been very disappointing. I've said this before because it's been radio silence all year from these guys. And this is a stock that can double or triple almost in a flash if they get any significant contracts. But are they getting anything, or have they been passed over? And the answer is we do not know. We are clueless on that. Amazon was down $1.82 in today's trade. The pattern also coming down and filling the gap. And the low today did fill the gap that was left, so maybe it bottoms on an hourly to daily basis tomorrow. Boeing down 271. In general, aircraft and airlines have been on the defense. Speaking of airlines, Delta Airlines down 265 at 55.76. I have been sort of negative on the entire experience and leisure industries, cruise lines and so on, not just because of the economy, but I think there was too many planes bought and too much money spent on cruise ships and what have you in the wake of COVID, because people wanted to get out and spend and do the so-called experiences, and I think that's winding down to some degree. AMD wound down by $6 today to $240, but that's fantastic, and they will have a slice of the quantum business. But we're not going to buy it here. What portion we have is retained, and we don't necessarily expect this gap to be filled. In fact, maybe not. Big Bear down 49 cents at 5.57, and in the evening trade, let me see, where is it? It's the same price, and it traded 84 million shares. Very volatile, up and down pattern behavior the last few days. I would not be surprised that it holds this area. If it went even lower, what would I do? I'd probably buy more is what I would probably do. But I wasn't one of those people chasing it at 9 or 10. I was hoping it would go to 15 or 20. I still think it's a $20 stock selling in the fives if they execute. But it's a bit of a crapshoot. They have to execute. They have to get these contracts. And that's why I mentioned the lady at TSA, because I would think, unless she's on the outs with Kevin, because when you had the Secretary of the DOT, Scott Duffy, and when he gave his speech, remember, 2 of the 3 drones parked in front of him were Ondas, and you say, well, we're not talking about Ondas. Oh, well, but the lady on his side over his shoulder was the lady who was of TSA, who's the former vice president of this one, Big Bear. I think these both can be hot stocks next year. At least one of them, I think, will work out. So am I balanced between them? Essentially. Big Bear warrants they still have a year to go. So those warrants could jump. They're at 170 down 10 cents. But you'll get to a point where there will be only a year left. And if you're thinking of them in terms of a long-term gain, that has to be bought almost right away or not at all, because they'll probably be called before next year. That, or they will have to be converted. We'll see how that goes. But I like the common. I like options. There are various ways to play it. You've got Chevron down 280 today. The oil sector is sort of neutral at best, we could say. Here's Dragonfly down 45 cents at 643. Heavy, despite very constructive comments and interviews from the CEO. Disney down 11 cents today. We're not a fan. We haven't been a fan. We've warned about it, and lowered traffic, expensive tickets, and lower traffic from Great Britain and from Latin America, and not just because of restrictions on people visiting and harder to get visas, but the exchange ratios are not favorable to come and spend money in the USA. General Motors giving back $261. We follow it. We're not in it currently. If it collapsed and filled this gap, we might get in it, but not at the moment. Here's Google up on the talk of it being sort of the so-called safe play, up 862. IBM, which is not going to be the only quantum player, and they're actually not the leader, and they're not the low power efficient one either, I don't think. down $8.50 in profit taking today at 297. Why? Because everything was down today. It was that kind of a day. Don't ask me to pinpoint it more than I already have. What else shall we take the time to look at tonight? I'm going to look at a little light path, up 10 cents to 680, but it was at 730 and then it gave back. Possibly works a little lower. Who can tell? I can't tell. Would I chase it? No. Do I think you'll see it back over 10 sometime next year, if not this year? Yeah, sure. Why not? And also depends what deals they make and who their partners are. Meanwhile, you've got a little tiny speculative AI, known LIDR is the symbol, LIDAR. And it is up 8 cents at 243, 2.7 million shares. Sideways behavior. Is it finished with year-end selling and preparing for some better times? Perhaps. We'll see. Intel was down 81 cents. Lockheed was up $5 today. I need to wrap this up. Too long. I apologize. Kopin down 16 cents. This is what happens when I do a video instead of just briefly doing text. This is one that Ondas invested in and does helmet and display and first-person view, FPV, drone control, and so on. I think it can be interesting. Maybe someone even acquires it. I don't know. Meta was down $7.50 today. This is one of the so-called magnificent stocks that I've said was toppy and to avoid, and it's working lower. Microsoft, same thing, softer but not as soft, down $2.69, although that's a heck of a spike that reversed, as spikes tend to do. Speaking of NVIDIA and spiking, down $3.57 at 186, and if they get another blowout quarter, watch them zoom and then come back down some. So you have volatility still ahead, and we'll see how that goes. Ondas, I need to look at, down 92 cents at 626, and this evening it's at 618. Volume was 154 million shares. This is the up-down reversal. It's not a key reversal because it didn't make a higher high, just a reversal and down day. And I would suspect that it's going to hold this general vicinity and then move forward and in a constructive way, because the people who are selling probably don't have conviction. The people that are buying do have conviction, and many new buyers have come aboard. D-Wave, down 78 cents at 22.83, 30 million shares. This is not as bad as some people think, because you've had, in this area, you had some insider selling, which is said to be 10b5 formulaic related. Maybe, maybe not. But there's, all these guys have been selling and taking something off the table. I think they're doing pretty decent business. They're not going to get the numbers people want in order to justify multiples. That is an excuse you get from the people that didn't buy the shares when it was $2. I don't disagree that it's expensive in the 20s and 30s, and I know there's a couple firms, Cantor Fitzgerald is one, that have higher targets like $50 and $60. I'd love to see it. I'm not calling for that anytime soon. I have one friend who is in his late 20s. He says he thinks it'll be $500 a share in his lifetime. Well, he's in his 20s. That's the point. His lifetime, not my lifetime. God willing, I should live that long to see it in the hundreds. I'll be thrilled if it makes it into the 40s or 50s, but I don't know that I'll see that. And I've sold some, and the warrants have to be gone. I don't know. They still trade. I don't know how much longer they trade. I don't understand who is buying them. Can they buy them and tender them an hour later? I don't understand. Only 310,000 warrants traded, 30 million of the common, because tomorrow is the drop dead deadline to tender or sell the warrants or tender, or they're only worth a penny. And that's why, and they're selling for basically $1 cheaper than the common. They used to sell for $2 to $4 more. And remember, that's when I sold half of them, and then I tendered the rest of them. So I'm fine, because I will get 1.45 shares whenever they get around the transfer agent to doing it, of the common for each warrant that I gave them. So be it, through my broker. Meanwhile, Quantum Computing Inc. up 90 cents today at 11.50. We have, I don't know, I might have 100 shares left. out of it, had thousands, gone, gone, gone. And would it go back up? Maybe. I'm not sure I care. Redwire, up 6 cents at 547. Probably tax selling pressure. A lot of people paid in the 20s for this stock. Not us. I think we paid around 8. So for us, it's a loss. But I think it's a stock, as I said, that it could be under tax selling pressure near the end of the year, then higher. There's no change in my view about that. Recor could be similar. Their business seems to be picking up, but you've got higher priced buyers and probably some sales pressure. With that said, SoundHound, would you believe, is down to 11.43. We are not heavily in it, though we still have a tiny bit at this point. The warrants were completely gone for some time. Tesla, we're not in. Up 457 at 408. People keep talking about this new secret thing coming. I don't know, but I'm not trading Tesla, period. Texas Instruments, we're not in it presently. That was from $10 a share decades ago, years and years ago, a couple decades anyway. And I think we were out at 60 or 90. It's 155. Not trading it. And last two, Unusual Machines, down 77 cents, 858. This is back down to roughly where I think we got in. Do I think it'll double from here? Very well might. It depends on their deals, sales, and again, orders. And a lot of that will depend upon what the government does. Veritone might be similar, but they have also high-priced buyers. Not us. We paid $1.35 for this stock. Our buy zone was $135 to $155. Why do I mention that? Because we have new members who probably don't know. They'll say, "Oh wow, you didn't pay $8." No, we didn't. We paid $1 and change, and that's the point. We get rid of the high-priced people with the tax selling. You accumulate, and you hope that it doubles or triples, and might next year. With that said, I'm going to say goodnight. This is the art of financial war, and we'll find out whether the bottom is in, whether we're in that vicinity, whether we need a little more bleed, or whether we simply turn around and rally tomorrow, providing Bitcoin doesn't drag everything down again. Have a good night. Cheers.